10 years ago, Adele sang, "Hello, it's me." This phrase is surprisingly hard to translate into Spanish. In English, to identify someone, you might point at them and say, "It's me, it's us, or it's them." But to say these things clearly in Spanish, we have to rephrase them in an entirely different way. Let's break this down in a super clear way so that you can confidently identify people, including yourself, in Spanish. Let's just start with a real-life example. Recently, I rode one of those roller coasters that takes a picture of you while you're screaming. So after we got off, we looked at the photos, and I was quickly able to identify which of the photos had us in it. So of course, I pointed at the photo and I said, "It's us." But if I were to say this in Spanish, there are two things that would have to change. First of all, when you identify someone in Spanish, you can't use object pronouns like us or me or him. You always have to use subject pronouns. So this sentence wouldn't end with a word for us. Instead, it would end with the Spanish word for we, which is nosotros. And it's the same for phrases like, "It's me." You can't end that with me or mi. You have to end it with yo, which is the word for I. This might make you think of a kind of old-fashioned way of speaking English. So in English, it used to be really common to say, "It is I," instead of "it is me." And nowadays, that's kind of fallen out of fashion in common use in English because we're much more comfortable with object pronouns like me and us. But in Spanish, you'll still always use subject pronouns to identify who someone is. Now, as a quick reminder, subject pronouns are these words. I is yo. You is either tú or usted. He is él. She is ella. We is nosotros. And they is ellos or ellas. If you need a brush up on these, you can check out lesson 17 at SpanishVideoCourse.com. This lesson is a deep dive on these pronouns, and you can learn and practice all of these for free. But we can't stop there. So this pronoun is not the only thing that's wrong with sentences like "it's me," "it's them," or "it was us." We actually also have to change the verb. So if I look at a photo of myself and I point and say, "It's me," you might think that I would say, "es yo." But actually, we would never use es in a sentence like this. We would have to use soy. So this becomes soy yo. We're not using the word for it is. Instead, we're using the word for I am. This sounds really weird to English speakers. So the phrase soy yo literally sounds like I am I. But this is always how Spanish speakers identify themselves. They don't say es yo, they say soy yo. So to say, "Hello, it's me," you would say, "Hola, soy yo." Here's another example. If I point at a picture of us on a roller coaster, in English, I would say, "It's us." But in Spanish, I would have to say, "Somos nosotros." So the rule here is that if you're identifying someone, the conjugation of ser always has to agree with the subject pronoun. Now, if you need a review on the conjugations of ser, check out lesson 13 at SpanishVideoCourse.com. So this is a deep dive on some of the conjugations of ser you're going to use in cases like this. You can learn them and practice them for free there. But one of the funny things about this is that sometimes a sentence has two subjects. For example, in the sentence, "The boy is me," the Spanish would use yo at the end there. And that means that both the boy and yo are subjects of the sentence. So what would the verb in the middle there have to agree with? Well, the rule is it has to agree with the subject pronoun. So the Spanish wouldn't be "este chico es yo." It would be "este chico soy yo." Literally, "this boy am I." So to summarize, to identify someone in Spanish, there are two rules. First, use a subject pronoun at the end of the sentence. And then also use a conjugation of ser that agrees with that subject pronoun. Now it's your turn to practice this. I'm going to give you some English sentences, and you should try to predict what the Spanish verb and pronoun are going to be. First example, "It's me." Soy yo. It's you. Eres tú. Those people are us. Esas personas somos nosotros. It's them. Son ellos. Those girls are us. Esas chicas somos nosotras. How did you do? If you got any of these wrong, no worries, this takes a bit of practice to get comfortable with. But if you want more help with these kinds of core essential Spanish expressions, check out our free course at SpanishVideoCourse.com. Inside, I'll walk you through tricky things like ser versus estar, por versus para, and I'll also teach you the top 1,000 words in Spanish, which make up about 80% of everyday conversation. And it's not just vocabulary. You're actually going to drill these things to perfection so that you can use them seamlessly in real conversations. This is all 100% free at SpanishVideoCourse.com. Just click the link in the description to get started. Meanwhile, subscribe to this channel so that you can see the next deep dive that I share to get you speaking Spanish fluently faster than ever.